There's been a lot of talk in the online guitar space recently about creators who are burned out with this platform in particular and are deciding to move on to other things. Given that I myself have not posted a full-length YouTube video in about 6 months, and I've started to receive some emails from concerned viewers about why I've been so quiet recently, I thought it was about time I explained what's been going on in my life. For a start, I'll dispel any potential concerns about me quitting the platform. That's not happening. I love YouTube. It's how my career first started. But I do like to take long breaks from the social media guitar thing now and again for various reasons. I might revisit my thoughts on YouTube in another video, but for now, I want to tell you all about a very big life change that occurred recently, something that I've been working on and keeping quiet about and planning since August of 2022. I have permanently, or at least semi-permanently, moved from my home country of Scotland to the United States. I now live in Nashville, Tennessee. I arrived here on Monday, the 1st of April, and just a few days later, played my first live show in the US with some of my best friends out here, which was amazing fun, and I'll come back to that later on as well. So I guess I'll just give you some more details about why I decided to do this, what the process of getting a US work visa was like. Spoiler alert, it was lengthy. And I can also provide some insight on what it is that I hope to achieve with my time out here. So we'll start with the question of why Nashville? Why did I decide to do this? Moving to Nashville has been a dream of mine for literally a decade now. I first visited this city on a family holiday when I was 18 years old, back in the summer of 2014. Now, when you're a young guitar player dreaming of the future and hungry for success, it's inevitable that if you visit a place like Nashville, you will fall in love with it instantaneously, and that is exactly what happened to me. In fact, it's wrong to say a place like Nashville because truly, I don't believe there is anywhere else on earth that has a music scene like Nashville's. It's just, I mean, if you know how amazing it is out here. So yeah, my parents took myself and my brother out here 10 years ago, and I left knowing that I needed to find a way back here one day. But at that time, I was still studying music at university. I was very young, and working 20 hours a week at a local pub in Edinburgh was not going to afford me a round trip to the States. So the idea of going back anytime soon was not a realistic one. And I didn't know anyone here, so I didn't have a real reason to come back. Quick side note, though the pub job didn't buy me a round trip to Nashville, it did buy me the first ever Telecaster that I owned, which I began to save up for right after that first visit here. So it was a really cool full circle moment to get to use this guitar on my first gig out here. Anyway, I kept studying music for another 3 years, and I wondered how on earth I was going to find myself back in Nashville. But as fate would have it, one of my best friends who was on the same music course as me, his name is Jordan Harvey, he's a recording artist out here, he decided to start traveling to Nashville himself in 2017. Fast forward a year, and he had successfully obtained the same O1 work visa that I myself now have. So he moved here in 2018, and that year was really when my YouTube channel first started to grow. And as a result, I had some disposable income from making sales of the first iteration of my Bulletproof Guitar Player course. And Jordan kept saying to me, you need to get yourself out here, man. It's an incredible scene. So I thought, yeah, I've got the money. This seems like a good way to spend it. This is what I want to do. So I booked a round trip for that summer, and I spent 5 weeks out here, had an incredible time. I met so many great people, pretty much all musicians living and working in Nashville. And I even met with my immigration lawyer who helped me get my visa last year. I met her for the first time on that trip 6 years ago now. And when we met, she asked me about, my career so far at that point and what I'd achieved, but it had only just started. So although that 2018 trip, it solidified my desire to move out here and build my career, it was also clear to me that I wasn't quite ready for it yet. And so I had some work to do back home before I could realistically attempt to go for the work visa. I will circle back to the work visa and what that process entails later on. Anyway, I kept visiting Nashville regardless, just to remain a familiar face. And so I think from 2018 to 2019, in total, I made 4 separate trips out here. And I started to feel like I was getting closer to being in a good position to apply for the visa. Then, of course, what happened in 2020 really threw a spanner in the works. And so there was basically a 2-year period where I really stopped thinking about moving to Nashville. And I won't lie, I got a bit too comfortable being where I was in Edinburgh. I wouldn't say I was living my dream life, but things were just good enough to keep me from feeling like I needed to make any major life changes. I was comfortable, put it that way. So once things were back to normal, I thought, do I really want to move to Nashville? And I pretty much lied to myself and said, nah, I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. But deep down, I knew that that was bullshit. I was telling myself to avoid the discomfort of making a huge life change. And that was 100% confirmed when I came back here for the first time since the pandemic, summer of 2022. So I had a 2-week holiday out here, and honestly, I had no intentions of moving to Nashville at that point. I really just came out here to catch up with my friends who I hadn't seen for over 2 years. But I got a few days into the trip and it just all came back to me. Like, I had kind of forgotten what I loved about this place, and I left that trip wanting to get back badly. So I knew it was time to go for it. About a month after that trip was when I first emailed my immigration lawyer to say, I want to move to Nashville. When can we get started? So that was August 2022. And I got the visa stamped in my passport in November 2023. So let's move on to the how do you move to Nashville part. The work visa that I'm here on is called an O1B artist visa, and it's for, this is the words of the USCIS, not me, it's for aliens of extraordinary ability in the arts. It lasts for 3 years and allows me to live and work here in the US as a musician. The first 6 months of the process basically consisted of me compiling a huge list of every and any piece of evidence I could think of that demonstrated I had already achieved notable success in the music industry. So of course, my social media presence, my online course business, gigs I had played, tours I had done, recordings I had played on, artists I had performed with, my music degree, all of that and more went into this list of evidence that I sent over to my lawyer, and she organized it all. In addition to the evidence part of the application, I also needed to get around 10 or so letters of recommendation, preferably from professional US-based musicians, which was actually the easiest part of it all, given that I'd spent a lot of time out here in Nashville over the years and made lots of friends who were in the industry. There are other bits and pieces that go into the application process, which I won't go into in this video because if you're curious, there's loads of videos on YouTube that break down exactly what is required to obtain an O1B visa. But my application, I think it ended up being something like 600 pages long. And yeah, like I said, that was the first 6 months of the process, just compiling all that evidence. So once the application was ready, we submitted it in April of last year, and there are 2 ways that you can submit. One is standard processing, which means you submit the application and then you wait for an undefined period of time to hear back, which could be a month, could be 3 months, could be 6 months. You really don't know. The other is premium processing, where you pay extra to get a decision within 15 days of submitting your application. That's what I chose to do, as I wanted to move on the 1st of June last year. So we did that. We submitted the application in April last year with the premium processing, waited 15 days, and unfortunately, the answer we got was not what we were anticipating or hoping for. So when the application was submitted, I was thinking that there are only two possible outcomes. One is it gets approved and I can move on to the next stage of the process. And the other is it's denied, I can't move, and I maybe try again at some point in the future. But there is actually a third possible outcome, which is what we had to deal with. So this is called an RFE, it means request for evidence. Basically, what happened was the person who looked at my application didn't think there was enough evidence in there to show that I would be an asset to the music industry in Nashville, and so they asked us to provide more evidence. And we got a 3-month deadline to work with on that. So I remember that day very clearly. I was pretty upset because I was so confident that my application would get approved, and my lawyer thought much the same. We both thought it was a very strong case. And so I'd been fantasizing about beginning this new life that I'd dreamt about for 9 years at that point. You know, I was looking at apartment buildings, trying to decide where I wanted to live, thinking about all the gigs I was going to be playing later in the year, the tours. And I was just very excited to make the move finally. And then all of a sudden, this doubt came crashing over me as I realized it might not be happening after all. So I spent a couple of days kind of wallowing in self-pity before I basically had to say to myself, there's still a chance, it's not over yet, so let's not act like it is. And so we got to work on compiling a new list of evidence, and then in July we resubmitted the application. A few days later, I get a text from my lawyer, "Hey Ross, your application was approved this morning." Of course, I was delighted to hear that, but still I wasn't quite ready to celebrate and tell anyone just yet, because after the application is approved, there is one step that remains, and that is an interview at a US embassy. So I had to organize an interview at the US embassy in London. It was the closest one to me, and that took quite a long time to get sorted out. Like I said, the application was approved in July, but I was only able to get my interview in November. And I was a bit nervous about the interview, not because I wasn't confident about the content of my application, but I'd just heard mixed experiences of the interview process from various friends of mine who had gone through this same process. Some said that they can be really tough on you and they will like grill you about very specific details in your application. And others said it can be an absolute breeze and that it's really nothing to worry about. Anyway, I went in prepared for the worst, and so I spent a full week printing off my entire application and studying every single page, highlighting parts that I thought would be good to commit to memory in case I was asked about them in the interview, and just rereading the document over and over again. I traveled down to London the day before. The interview was in the morning, so showed up nice and early, dressed smart, made myself look presentable. Probably had to wait an hour in line to get seen, and honestly, it was absolutely fine. It was not the grilling I had prepared for, fortunately, which was nice because at that point, this whole visa situation had been going on for something like 15 months, and you know, we had the setback with the RFE and everything, so it felt great that the interview went very smoothly, and at the end of it, the customs officer took my passport and said, "We'll send it back to you in the mail with the visa stamped inside in a couple of weeks' time." And that was it. So 15 months of my life were dedicated to getting this work visa, and for the sake of transparency with the lawyer fees, application fees, premium processing, the RFE, in total, I spent close to $10,000 getting my visa. Now, if you're thinking about doing this yourself, don't think that just because it took me 15 months and cost $10,000 that it would take as long for you or cost that much. You can file your application on your own without the use of a lawyer if you wish to, but I wanted to give myself the best chance possible, and so that's why I went with an immigration lawyer. And you know, thank God I did, because I think that had I gone it alone and received the RFE, I probably would have given up at that point if I didn't have my lawyer there to guide me through that part of the process. Now, at the start of the video, I talked a bit about why I've I decided to do this. But to give you more clarity on that, I want to talk about what it is I'm here to do, like what do I hope to achieve with my time out here. So for a start, I will absolutely continue to do the online stuff, the YouTube channel, the online course business. I know I haven't been active on YouTube recently, but I've been making a ton of content behind the scenes, and honestly, I've never enjoyed making content and making courses and running an online business as much as I have in the past year or so. Like, it's been really, really fun for me over the past year, and I'm excited to grow all of that even more being out here. And the nice thing about being in Nashville is that there are so many other guys that do this online course guitar thing. And you know, back home in Edinburgh, I didn't know anyone who did that. So it's nice to have already been out here for a month and met up with other guitar creators, you know. But the main reason why I came out here was to start touring and start performing more. It all goes back to like the reason why I picked up the guitar in the first place, which was I watched the Jack Black movie School of Rock when I was 9 years old. And I remember, like, the moment for me was I remember watching the final scene where the kid is like ripping a guitar solo on the Flying V during the Battle of the Bands gig. That was the moment I knew I wanted to play guitar, really. It was like, I want to do that. I want to be on stage in front of thousands of people. So that's what I'm here to do. Like, after I graduated from uni in Edinburgh, I did a little bit of performing. Like, I did wedding band work for a few years, which was a good way to start making money from music, from playing guitar live. But outside of that, I never really pushed myself to get out and play gigs where I'm playing music that I actually want to be playing. And in addition, I feel like just the opportunities that I want as a performing guitar player, they just don't really exist in the UK, or at least not in Edinburgh. I mean, I could have gone to London and, you know, tried to get my foot in the door down there, but it's more about, well, it's mainly about the amount of opportunity that is here, but also the types of opportunities. I want to be playing very guitar heavy, guitar focused music, and there's just so much of that out here. Whereas, you know, if I had stuck in Scotland or I'd moved to London, I would most likely have ended up playing pop gigs. And I love pop music, but I wouldn't want to get one of those gigs where, you know, you kind of look at the guitar player and you think, do they need to be there, or are they just like a sort of decoration for the stage? And I mean no offense to anyone that does those types of gigs. It's just, I want to be playing guitar focused music, rock, country, pop, blues, yeah, maybe even some metal one day, I don't know. But guitar heavy music is really what I want to be doing out here. So anyway, the main reason I'm out here is to find a lot more opportunities to perform and eventually get on tour out here in the States, and hopefully internationally one day as well. That's definitely a big dream of mine, to tour the world, really. So yeah, that's what I intend on doing with my time out here. This is probably a good time to wrap up the video. I'm shooting this in my apartment out here. This is my new studio room. I'll be shooting a lot more content in here very soon. And by the way, there is another reason why I haven't really posted on YouTube so much recently. I kind of have a secret project that I've been working on behind the scenes since January, which I'm really excited to tell you all about. But I'm not going to say anything more about that now. I think actually before I wrap this video up, I'll go and grab my iPhone and I'll just shoot a quick video to show you what the studio looks like. All right, so this is the room. This is where I'm going to be shooting all of my content from now on. I always buy the cheapest softbox lights I can possibly find on Amazon because I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on lights that I don't need. These always do the job. The only guitars I took with me were my Strat and one of my Tellys. I took them over in a mono dual gig bag, which you can see here. So I put this in the hold and it was absolutely fine, like no issues with the guitars at all. Of course, took my camera and quad Cortex as well. That fits inside the tick that comes with the mono dual gig bag. So that was basically the rig that I brought over. 2 guitars, quad Cortex, and then a bunch of my recording gear and the camera and all that. That all went in a suitcase, and then the rest was just like a few t-shirts and stuff. I basically just bought a new wardrobe as soon as I got here because the suitcases were so full of music gear that I couldn't fit that many clothes actually. So yeah, this is the new room. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I've been wanting to tell you all about this for so long, but like I said, the visa process just got so drawn out and there were so many hurdles to overcome that, you know, I didn't want to announce it prematurely for it to then, you know, fall through at the last minute. So yeah, that's why I've been a bit quiet on YouTube recently, but I'll be back soon. I'm just editing the video now and I realized I never actually told you about the gig. So yeah, I arrived the Monday evening on the 1st of April and then played the first show on Friday. So it was rehearsal Thursday, gig on Friday. That was with my friend Jordan Harvey. The event was called Whiskey Jam. If you live in Nashville, I'm sure you've probably heard about Whiskey Jam. It's like a pretty damn popular event. So the venue was great. It was a great crowd. We just played 4 of Jordan's songs, and just had an absolute blast. It was my first gig using in-ears, and the sound on stage was just absolutely incredible. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy playing with in-ears, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I'll throw in a few clips of that gig here so you can see them.
But it's too late, road is like a blues. You got to get out the window, karaoke, rocking and down, Alabama, baby, paparazzi, Hollywood star. You